Hi, I'm Jeff Gallant, Program Director of Affordable Learning Georgia. In this video, I'm going to help you cover a fundamental topic in open education, copyright and open licensing. By the end of the video, you should be able to talk some basic copyright with instructors, along with helping them find the open license that's right for them. Copyright was established in the U.S. Constitution, where Congress was given permission to secure a limited time for authors and inventors to have the exclusive rights to their own writings and discoveries. The nation was just getting started, so copyright was added here in order to promote the progress of science and useful arts. We just came out of a monarchy, so nobody was going to order people to write and invent. In a new society based on capital, copyright existed to incentivize science and creativity. The copy part of the language had to do with copying physical books, maps, and charts and selling them. In 1790, Congress put the permissions into law and created author protections for 14 years after the publications of a work. After that, the work would be in the public domain, meaning the work's value was now the public's value. Anyone could copy, update, or revise it. A lot has changed since 1790, including how long it takes for a work to enter the public domain. But we only really need to know these basics of how copyright works right now. When any author creates a new work in a tangible format, which now includes anything digital as well, that work is automatically under copyright. There's no need to register it with a copyright office, although businesses and creators will sometimes still do this for documentation purposes. From that point onward, you have the sole right to reproduce the work, use it in new works, perform it in public, and sell it on the market. You can give these permissions to other people or organizations, like publishing houses, but it's still your right to do so. You can't copyright something that has zero originality. A phone book full of addresses and numbers is not original. You can't copyright ideas or mechanics, but you can patent them, which is an entirely different business thing that we won't have time for in this video. You can't copyright logos or slogans, but you can trademark them, which is another entirely different business thing that we won't have time for in this video. You also can't copyright the news. If CNN reports on an event, NBC and Fox can report on the event as well. Articles and videos from these companies about the news are under copyright, but anyone can report the news. Copyright doesn't apply when you're pointing at someone's work instead of copying it. For example, if someone recommended that I watch a movie, that person won't be sued by a movie company for recommending it. Digitally, this means that linking is not infringement. You're pointing at a resource that's located elsewhere, not making a copy of the resource. The modern copyright term is extremely long, way past the life of the author. Because of that, there's something called fair use, which was added to the law in 1976 when copyright was made more restrictive through an act of Congress. Fair use isn't a law in itself, it's a legal doctrine that tries to explain when someone might be off the hook for violating copyright law. There are 4 factors to consider when determining if something is fair use. 1. The purpose and character of the use, including whether the use is of a commercial nature or for nonprofit and educational purposes. 2. The nature of the copyrighted work. 3. The amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as the whole. And 4. The effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Some basic and necessary fair use uses are the right to cite other works and quote them in our own books and articles. When it comes to broader uses, though, fair use winds up being a legal defense in practice and a really tough defense to pull off due to the large corporations on the under end of these cases. We often see fair use of copyrighted materials taking place behind the scenes and out of sight for this reason. For instructors, fair use may exist, but it isn't yet a safe, sustainable, or massively public option for sharing and transforming educational works. In the 60s and 70s, computer scientists who worked together on writing the first software needed openness among themselves in order to move computer functionality forward. And they immediately saw copyright, including their own copyright, getting in the way. In response, they got creative and wrote permissions that would give anyone else the right to copy their work and expand on it. To make this simple for any programmer, these permissions got formalized into what we now call open licenses, like the GNU General Public License and the Copyleft License. These open licenses didn't break or violate copyright. Instead, they use the permissions that authors could give within copyright law to move openness forward. Many of these licenses, including the general public license, required new works made from open license works to carry that same license, therefore expanding that openness forward. These licenses often led to open source software, where the source code for the software is available and editable. Educators and artists aren't all programmers, though. We're often writing things using computer software, but we're not writing the software itself. So putting an open software license on these works would lead to something like an open source textbook or an open source song. That doesn't really make sense. So that's why Creative Commons exists. Creative Commons licenses are open licenses for people who don't write software. It's the license of choice for education and the arts. Creative Commons does have some legal documentation explaining all of the details of how the license works, and while this isn't entirely necessary for every instructor, I encourage you to check out that legal code at least once at creativecommons.org. Attribution, or buy, is the foundation of a Creative Commons license. If you use a Creative Commons license work to make a new or revised thing, you must attribute the original work in the new thing you created. An attribution license would be abbreviated as CC BY. The rest of these are restrictions you can add to a CC BY license depending on the situation. Share Alike, or SA, goes back to the old open source licenses. It means that if you use the work, your new work needs to be under the same license. This is great for spreading open around, but it does a bit of extra responsibility and knowledge demand on faculty authors who may already be strapped for time. Non-commercial, or NC, means that if you use the work, that new work cannot be used for profit. Authors might know a company that repurposes university resources and sells them at a high price, and NC might be good for that purpose. It is more restrictive and complicated to use, though, so consider the difficulty faculty face in interpreting non-commercial licenses before adding one. No derivatives, or ND, means that you cannot revise or remix the work at all. Just copy it as is. No derivatives works for documents with sensitive information or research data. It also works for artworks that are deeply personal to the creator. However, it does not work for education because instructors and students have different learning needs. For example, you might want to use an open resource in a different degree program, institution, nation, or even language. In education, avoid no derivatives wherever possible. There's one exception to Creative Commons licenses requiring attribution. Creative Commons solved a different problem in copyright by creating a public domain mark, or CC0. This allows someone to put their work into the public domain instead of waiting for the end of the copyright term or after they died for that to happen. These are no rights reserved licenses. Do what you want with these. I wouldn't recommend this for educational works because attributions work like a citation trail where you can trace resources all the way back to the original source. That helps when you're looking for why something is worded a particular way, or maybe finding a different file format than the new work you're looking at. Putting just about any Creative Commons license on your educational resource means you've created an open educational resource, or OER, with the exception of ND. The license allows what the open education field calls the 5 R's of open content. Retain means that the resource won't disappear. You can keep it indefinitely. Reuse means that you can use the resource in whatever context you would like. OER aren't locked to a learning management system for one kind of use. You could use OER as reference tools or even video scripts. Revise means that you can change the resource to fit your needs and your students' needs. This aspect of open is especially critical to education. Remix means that you can combine open resources together in new ways. An easy example of this is bringing chapters from multiple open textbooks together to form your own. A more advanced example would be bringing in audio-visual content to enhance that textbook. Redistribute means that you can share open resources with anyone at any time. This means your students can get all open resources on day 1 of classes, or even before. You could send your new open textbook to your aunt, free of charge. There's a lot more to know about copyright, of course. Please be sure to work together as champions on questions like this. Often librarians will be the go-to professionals for best practices in copyright. Feel free to dive deeper when you have time, and of course you can always send us an email. Thanks for watching and have an affordable day.